For this Google Workspace Basics tutorial, we're going to dive into Google Calendar and we are going to focus on setting up Google Calendar. We've got 5 main areas we want to tackle in this video, and those are accessing Google Calendar, selecting and changing your view, setting your working hours, setting your working location, and managing your event notifications. First up on our to-do list, accessing Google Calendar. There are a couple of different methods that you can use to access Google Calendar, the first of which is typing in this URL into your URL bar. If you already happen to be in one of the other Google Workspace products such as Gmail or Google Drive, you can always hit this button right here. I like to refer to it as the waffle button because I'm very food motivated. But if you hit that, that gets you access to all of your different Google apps. Find Google Calendar on the list, click that, and it will open. Number 2 on our to-do list today is selecting and changing your calendar view. You can change your default view. I tend to appreciate the month-long view because I like to get kind of a big picture sort of view out of things. However, you might have a different opinion, and that's okay. You can change your view by messing with this little drop-down menu right here. You've got the day-long view, which gives you a look at all of your different calendar events for one specific day. You can look at your week-long view, so look at all of your events throughout the week. You can check out the year-long view. You can look at the schedule view. And then the last option is kind of your custom view. By default, that's going to be your 4-day option. You might notice also that there are keys next to each one of these, and those allow you to quickly switch between each of these different views. So on your keyboard, you could just hit D to go to the day view, W to go to the week view, etc. Whichever option you select, that is going to be your default calendar view. So even if you close down Google Calendar and come back to it later, your default view will be what you see. You can customize your view even further by clicking on the gear icon and then clicking on settings. From this menu, you want to click view options over here on the left-hand sidebar. And now under view options, you can dial in exactly what kind of view you like to have by default on Google Calendar. Do you want weekends to show up? If you don't, just uncheck that box. If you want your week to start on a different week other than Sunday, you can certainly do that with this box. Remember whenever I mentioned your custom view before being default 4 days, here's where you can change that. Maybe you want your default custom view to be 5 days. Select that option. Now back on the main menu in our drop-down, our custom view is now set to 5 days. Next on our to-do list is setting your working hours. Once again, we're going to be in that settings menu, so click the gear icon and then click settings. On the left-hand menu, we want to select working hours and location. If you want to set your working hours, you can check this box. By default, it's not checked. And then down below here, you can specify exactly what your working hours are. The great thing about setting this up is that if you get invited to an event outside of your established working hours, the person that created that event is going to be able to automatically see that you're not available during that time, and that will enable them to maybe save an additional piece of communication that they might send to you, and thus make things just a little bit more efficient. Next on our to-do list, setting your working location. We didn't have to leave this menu, we're in the same spot, so right over here on this column is where you can set your working location. The cool thing about this is that you can let people know which days you're in the office and when you're working remotely. All you have to do for each day is just click the drop-down box and then specify. If you select the somewhere else option, that allows you to type in that location. This is another little trick to hopefully save you some time, save the person who might be inviting you to a calendar event some time. Maybe they want to know when's the next day you're going to be in the office and available. If you set this up, they're not going to have to send you that message that says, hey, when are you going to be in the office again? I can't remember what your schedule is. You set this up and they just know. Last item on our checklist for this video is managing your event notifications. So we're still digging around in settings, but we are going to have to change the menu over here on the left-hand side. We want to click Event Settings. If we scroll down just a little bit, we get to the notification settings portion. You have 3 options for notifications. You can turn notifications off, you can receive desktop notifications, or you can receive alerts. So you might be asking, what's the difference between a desktop notification and an alert? Whether you have Google Calendar open or not, if you have desktop notifications enabled, you're going to receive a notification on any website that you're on. So maybe you closed out Google Calendar, but you're messing around in Google Documents, you'll still get a notification if you have an upcoming meeting, or if you get invited to a new meeting. If you select alerts for your notification style, that means that you're only going to get alerts if Google Calendar is open in an active tab. So for me, I like to enable desktop notifications. I don't find that my Google Calendar alerts are distracting in any way, and on the contrary, I like to know whenever new stuff comes in. You do have the option to play a notification sound whenever a new calendar event occurs. One other thing to note here, you might be in a situation where you have multiple Google Calendars, kind of like I do over here. These general notification settings are going to be the overriding settings for all of your Google Calendars. So if you want to change individual notification settings for more than one calendar, you can certainly do that. Just know that if you set your notification settings here, this is going to be the default notification setting for all of your calendars. So let's say, for example, that I don't want to have notifications show up for my Workspace Basics demo calendar. I'm going to click it on this list here. And then for this calendar on the left-hand sidebar, now I can select event notifications for it. And I can dial in specifically which events I want to be notified about for this individual calendar. I think this is a great way to be able to manage all of those various notifications that you might have if you're in a situation where you have multiple calendars. And with that, we've wrapped up another Google Workspace Basics tutorial, this time covering setting up Google Calendar.